Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this explainer right here on Easy English Wins. I'm your host, and today we're going to look at a deeply tragic news story, the capsizing of a passenger ferry off the coast of Guyana, where the official numbers just simply do not add up. Now, in our lesson today, we aren't just following the news. We are going to extract some really vital English vocabulary and study natural grammar structures using this real-world context. This is going to help you understand complex English smoothly and confidently, so go ahead and grab your notebooks. Let's start with the headline itself, Unraveling the Mystery at Sea. The verb unravel literally means to untangle threads, like in a sweater, but in the news, we use it to mean solving a complicated mystery piece by piece. We also see the word capsizing in the source material. To capsize is a highly specific verb we use for boats and ships, meaning to completely turn over in the water.
Let's start this story with a very crucial number, which is 133. This represents the official passenger registry limit for this ill-fated voyage, comprising 116 passengers and 17 crew members. Okay, let's break down this vocabulary so you can use it in your own everyday conversations. Take a look at the phrase ill-fated. This is a beautifully descriptive compound adjective. Ill-fated means something is destined to fail or bring bad luck. Say it with me slowly. Ill-fated. Excellent. We also have the word comprising. To comprise means to consist of or to be made up of. For example, you could say, the class is comprised of 20 students. Now, a really common mistake that English learners make is saying comprising of. Remember, you do not need the word of after the active verb comprise. It is simply comprising 116 passengers.
But as the rescue operations unfolded, a terrifying discrepancy emerged. This forced officials and families alike to ask a very dark and pressing question. How many people were actually on board? Let's take a deep dive into the word discrepancy. A discrepancy is basically an illogical difference between two things that should actually be exactly the same. A great synonym is inconsistency, and an antonym would be agreement. When you're practicing this word, I want you to notice the preposition we use. We say there is a discrepancy between the records. We also see the phrase on board. In English, when we talk about being inside a ship, an airplane, or a train, we don't say in the board, we always use the preposition on board.
Looking at the timeline of events, it perfectly illustrates a really swift progression from just a routine Saturday afternoon departure from the capital all the way to a sudden, catastrophic distress call late at night. Notice the phrasing used in the official report. A frantic distress call was received. This right here is a perfect example of the passive voice. The structure is the to-be verb, which is was, plus the past participle received. We use the passive voice heavily in news reports, and that's because the action itself, receiving the call, is considered much more important than exactly who picked up the phone. A distress call is a vital noun collocation that you should know, meaning an urgent, desperate plea for help. Following that distress call, a massive search involving government teams and private boats resulted in 67 people being rescued from the sea by Sunday. Let's analyze the vocabulary in this section. We have the phrase massive search. Massive is a very strong adjective that native speakers love to use instead of saying very big or huge. It really adds weight and a sense of scale to your spoken English. Also, pay close attention to the preposition in the phrase rescued from. You are always rescued from danger, not out of danger. For example, you would say, the hikers were rescued from the mountain. Make sure to write down rescued from in your vocabulary notes. Tragically, despite divers continuing to search the site, officials fear that scores of people have drowned, which highlights the massive scale of this disaster. Let's examine the word scores, exactly as it appears in this text. In traditional English, a score means exactly 20. However, in modern news English, saying scores of people simply means a very large, completely undefined number of people. Also, I want you to notice the specific grammar structure used to report this tragedy, are feared to have drowned. This is a complex passive structure followed by a perfect infinitive. Native speakers use this when making a current assumption, are feared, about a completed past event, to have drowned.
The mathematical discrepancy here is completely stark. It shows that dozens of survivors were never even officially documented as being on board. Let's learn a highly specific maritime vocabulary word right here. Manifest or manifesto. In the worlds of shipping and travel, a manifest is the official list of passengers or cargo on a vehicle. When you use this word, you need to remember the preposition on. People are listed on the passenger manifesto, not in it. This stark contrast between official rules and reality is totally central to the entire investigation.
This glaring irregularity led Public Works Minister Juan Edhill to express deep anger, accusing the ferry operators of deliberately circumventing safety protocols and hiding the true number of passengers. I really want to highlight the essential English idiom used in this quote, to cheat the system. This is a super conversational idiom you are going to hear all the time. It means to find a clever and often very dishonest way to avoid following the rules. A good synonym would be bending the rules or exploiting loopholes. Also, make sure you note the grammar after the verb accusing. In English, we always accuse someone of doing something. Accusing operators of trying, that's the preposition of plus the gerund, trying.
The investigation rapidly escalated when it was revealed that the captain and crew, who are now in police custody, tested positive for cannabis while on duty. Let's build your vocabulary with these bullet points. First up, tested positive for. This is a really crucial medical and legal phrase. You don't test positive of something, you test positive for it. Next, we have zero tolerance policy. This is an important administrative and legal term. It means absolutely no rule breaking is allowed whatsoever. The rules are strictly enforced without any exceptions. Finally, taken into police custody is formal journalistic English for being arrested. Instead of saying the police caught them, professional news reports will almost always say they were taken into custody.
Prime Minister Mark Phillips has impartially laid out the government's stance with a very powerful statement, promising that any established negligence will be met with severe legal consequences. This quote is incredibly rich with advanced vocabulary. Let's look at the word negligence. This noun means a failure to take proper care in doing something. The adjective form is negligent. Then look at the very end of the quote. Face the full force of the law. Wow, what a powerful English idiom. It means to receive the absolute maximum punishment possible for a crime. Repeat it out loud with me softly just to get the rhythm. Face the full force of the law.
Now let's move over to the human element to see how survivor Elena Moonsummy recounted those final terrifying moments. She described how the boat was struck by a wave and took on water in mere seconds. Here in our vocabulary builders section, let's take a closer look at the verbs describing the disaster. The vessel tilted. To tilt means to lean or slant heavily to one side. The report also uses the phrasal verb taking on water. This is a specific idiom used strictly for boats and ships, meaning water is actively entering the vessel and causing it to sink. You would never say the boat is drinking water, you say it is taking on water.
Her tale of survival is honestly miraculous. It shows immense bravery as she clung to debris and even helped save another woman's life in the total chaos. I want us to deeply understand the verb clinging. The base verb is cling, which means to hold on to something very, very tightly, usually because you are terrified or desperate. The past tense is clung. Notice the preposition here too. You cling to something, clinging to a floating box. We also see the word debris here. Remember the pronunciation on this one. The S at the end is completely silent. Debris means scattered pieces of waste or remains. So she was clinging to debris.
The really crucial point we have to remember here is the unimaginable heartbreak behind this disaster, as Elena was tragically separated from her 2-year-old child during those frantic seconds. To truly grasp the heavy emotional weight of this moment, let's look at the descriptive language that's being used. First, the word desperately. This adverb describes acting in a way that shows a hopeless sense that a situation is completely impossible to deal with. We also see the phrase tragically separated. In English, we typically use the preposition from with the word separate, but in the passive voice right here, we just say they were separated.
Among the 67 lucky enough to be pulled from the water, 15 were children, reminding us of the extreme vulnerability of the passengers on that ferry. Let's expand a bit on this really powerful noun, vulnerability. It comes from the adjective vulnerable, which describes someone or something that is easily physically or emotionally attacked or harmed. Native English speakers use this word very often when discussing the victims of a tragedy. The antonym, or the opposite word, would be invincibility or protection. These demographics truly highlight the deep vulnerability of the people traveling that night.
The aftermath shows a local community really stepping up. Small private boats pulled 17 people to safety, while hospitals treated survivors for the immense physical toll of clinging to wreckage for hours. Now it is time for our reading practice and shadowing exercise. I am going to read a key sentence at normal speed and then much slower. I want you to repeat out loud with me to build up your speaking muscles. Ready? Here is normal speed. Most survivors were discharged with cuts and bruises from clinging to debris for hours. Okay, now let's slow it right down in a steady, respectful tone. Shadow me. Most survivors were discharged with cuts and bruises from clinging to debris for hours. Really good job with that. By the way, discharged is a formal medical term meaning a patient is officially allowed to leave the hospital.
As the search continues and the investigation deepens, we have to leave you with this final, thought-provoking question regarding the ultimate cost of negligence and unaccountability. When safety systems are cheated and manifestos manipulated, how can we ever truly account for the human lives lost to the sea? To wrap up today's lesson, let's quickly summarize the vital vocabulary we've covered. We learned ill-fated, discrepancy, cheat the system, negligence, cling, and discharged. Now here's your homework. I want you to write 3 distinct sentences in the comments below using at least 3 of these new words. I will read them and give you some helpful feedback. Please don't forget to like this explainer, comment which word was your absolute favorite to learn today, subscribe to Easy English Wins, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a lesson. You can also click the screen right now to watch another explainer from our channel. See you in the next lesson. Keep practicing. You can absolutely do it. Bye.